When I was 7 or 8 years old, I lived with my grandparents in South Carolina. They had a big house that used to be used as an underground railroad stop. I loved finding the secret passages corridors located around this unusual place. When I wasn't busy exploring them, Grandpa would take me fishing and hunting, and Grandma would teach me how to sew and cook. Girlish activities for a little boy, but these skills will definitely be useful to me in my life. My parents were military, but they didn't drag me from place to place because they didn't want to traumatize me with constant moving, but left me with my grandparents. My room was practically in the center of the house. It was surrounded on all sides by thick walls, behind which there were similar passageways corridors, but they had not been used for a long time and were closed. I decorated the walls with posters and other cool things, as an 8-year-old should. I liked the house, but after a while I started to feel that something was wrong. I noticed that my things were starting to disappear. Nothing particularly valuable, just ordinary things like a toothbrush or a comb. They never reappeared and I never saw them again. I think my grandparents spent a fortune on my personal hygiene items. This situation surprised both me and my loved ones. They joked that the house poltergeist must like me. Of course, they were just joking, but this situation was beginning to scare me. I started paying attention to small sounds and details. When I heard something strange, I would get really scared. I remember I was drying my favorite shirt on a chair, but as soon as I stepped away for 5 minutes, it disappeared. My things were out of place. Gone were the paintings that hung on the walls. But most importantly, little holes started appearing in the walls all over the house. They first appeared in my room, but then spread throughout the house. In the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the living room. Everywhere except my grandparents' bedroom. It really freaked me out, so one night I decided to sleep in their room. I slept in a comfortable sleeping bag on the floor and felt safe for the first time in a long time. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up to strange sounds, like someone hammering a nail somewhere nearby. There was nothing surprising about it. People here often woke up at any time and could start making repairs. When I stopped paying attention to the pounding, my gaze moved to the far wall directly across from me. At that moment, I saw that a piece had fallen out of the wall, leaving behind another small hole. My screaming woke up my grandparents. They were worried about my mental health, so we packed the necessary things and left the house for the weekend. When we got back, the first thing I noticed was that almost everything that had anything to do with me in the house was either gone or broken. My room now had at least 30 new holes of various shapes and sizes. After the long drive, I was very sleepy. The three of us stood in my room and demanded that whatever lived in the house leave me alone. There were no flying objects or devilish laughter. Just silence and me, scared and feeling a little silly. I decided to be brave and stay in my room for the night. I woke up around 12 o'clock in the morning to a knocking sound, followed by a heavy thump. Then another. Eventually the beats became rhythmic. It was scary to the point of insanity. Jumping up, I began to look around the room. I took the flashlight that was on the nightstand by the bed and shone it in all directions. On the floor, on the ceiling, on the walls, and on these holes. The knocking stopped, but I kept looking around desperately. And then the beam of light hit something shiny. As soon as I realized what it was, I screamed and cried. It was a human eye. Grandma and Grandpa came running in and saw it too. An unblinking human eye was staring at the room from the hole. We called the police. The cops opened up the sealed part of the house and started looking through every secret passageway they could find. They reached the corridors beyond the far wall of my room, where the eye was looking at the bedroom. They didn't tell me anything then, but when I grew up, my grandparents told me this terrible secret. The policeman squeezed into the small room behind the wall, where only one person could fit properly. The first thing they came across was an impressive layer of garbage. Most of this trash was my missing items: combs, toothbrushes, socks, shoes, washcloths, my favorite shirt. Against a wall, surrounded by my photos, stood a man. He was completely naked, and the only thing that kept him upright was a strap around his neck tied to a lower beam. The cause of his death was autoerotic asphyxiation. He died while he was looking at me and self-pleasuring. I don't think there's anyone who's been through something like that. And now when I go to bed, all I think about are those holes.